I didn't share my screen first. I had it already full screen, but I just didn't share it first.
That's okay. All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. This is Greg, one of the technical trainers at Decisions, and we're happy you're here. We'll start in just a minute. If you have any questions or need anything, then go ahead and pop your question in the chat. We'll start in just a minute. Once again, welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. This is Greg, and we sort of have a halfway pre-submitted question today from James. And James, I'm going to allow you to talk. I know you were talking to Rob earlier about something you were working on, and he told me quickly about it. I built something out real fast, but I'll allow you to talk so you can update us or change completely if you'd like.
Thanks. So what we're doing is we created a form that a user fills out, and then we want to take the data from that form, transform it to a document, and attach that document to an email with that information in it. Once it's approved, back to the original requester, so they have it, and so they can then what they have to do right now is forward that information to a different department to get funds allocated for that, and that's a manual process for right now. So we're just attaching the data to the email.
Okay.
So I got that part working fine. Figured that out today. The only other part that I have is I want to attach that data and any other data that they attach to support that form to the case. So I just haven't gotten as far as adding an attachment to a case. I know you can do it manually to a case, but I haven't figured out what steps that is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me show you a couple of things that I built real fast. One thing I was curious about when you were talking is you said that you wanted to convert the data. Let me show you to get a visual at the same time. Whoops, wrong one. So you've got a forum. People upload an attachment on this forum and have their email address also. So let's just pretend that dynamically comes into the forum, and then it leaves the forum as file data. And then you said that one of your steps that you've already done and you don't have a problem with is sending an email, but you also want to save the attachment and support the record. Is that correct?
Yeah, support the case.
So what I've done, and this may be old hat, you may already know this, but what I thought could be useful is converting that from file data to a file reference. And so one thing that I was curious about is you said that you converted it to a document, and I don't know if you mean literally like the document file type, but I did want to remind you when you convert anything, like if you're going to convert file data to something from your form, try to, it's best practice. You might remember this from training to use file references
Right,
because they're much more efficient than documents. So if you want to use a load from file data step, it can take in the attachment and then output it as a file reference. So I've done that.
okay. Yeah,
And then after
I'll
that,
need to do. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, after that, I just created an entity from the file reference. And you could do a couple of things here. Now that this is a file reference entity, you could use a fetch step. And let me show you that real fast.
Mhm.
Just a sample fetch. And you could actually fetch the file reference entity table. And then for your parent folder ID, just select that folder that it's coming out of.
Right.
Or alternatively, you could just save entities right here. After it loads from file data, you could just save the entity. I created a mock data structure for you real
Yeah.
fast, to just an entity data structure. So James record structure, and then you can build the data on that
Right.
entity,
Right.
and then put in all the fields that you want. I put in the attachment file here, and then the email address here. So you could save all the parts to that record in this way.
Okay. And the attachment file is from the load from file data, correct? Which is
Yep.
the reference to that file. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're loading from file data, from what I understand, that just sticks it somewhere in the file structure of the server, on the app server, that file structure that it creates.
Yes.
It just
Yeah.
creates a
It's
reference. So how do you
Yep.
reference that? Like if you were outside of this and you wanted to reference that specific attachment, would you have to do it through the, I guess, the end? What if you never attached it to an entity? What if you just saved out there that with that load? How would you get it back? Would
Do
you
you
have to,
mean like where is it located on your
yeah,
server?
I mean, how would I reference it again in another flow
Mm-hmm.
or something? I mean, let's say it's out there and then let's just say I write another flow that gathers data that I put out there. Because it's not, I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around how does it do the naming and how do you get it back if you don't have direct reference to it, like within that flow, you're getting it in another flow at some other time or whatever.
Right. So I guess,
What name does it use?
yeah. I guess the simplest way to answer that, at least part of your questions, is, from the form, if users are putting it or uploading their file into the form step, then it could be saved in just a folder. You could create a folder somewhere in your server system, and then let's pretend it is this event log CSV, for example. Um, then you could build different flows and refer back to this folder because it houses all the saved files from that step.
Mhm.
And then you could convert, however you want to. You can manipulate this file however you'd like with, different steps and flows.
All right, so this load from file data, that's sticking it out there in the file structure somewhere, right? And
Mhm.
what's it creating as the reference to that file? So if I,
Yeah, it's
this
basically,
reference right here, right, that output.
yeah, I just renamed it to this.
So if I were in another flow entirely unrelated to this and I wanted to pull up that file,
Mhm.
how would I do it? Because all there is a reference, which I assume is just a series of numbers
Right. Well,
referencing
that's why
that
you
file.
kind of need this in tandem. You need this create entity from the file reference.
Right, that's
Um,
creating it if you're going to create it in the entity, right?
yeah, so this
What
is
if it's just
creating,
sitting out? What if I just sat it out on the server somewhere? I guess I would have to create a structure and then specifically name it something so I could refer to it later. If
Are you
all it was
asking?
doing was sitting out on the server.
Are you asking about how to get? I think is the germane part of your question, James. Like, how do you get it from like another flow?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And
di-
let's say I don't have it attached to a specific case entity. It's just a file I sat out on the server somewhere for a
uh,
while and I want to reference it later, but I mean, it's not attached to an entity or a folder per se. I mean, I could,
Uh-huh.
but let's say I don't have it attached to a specific entity. I just create some files in one flow,
Mm-hmm.
save them off to the server, and then in another flow that runs later on that week, it goes out there and picks up this file or this group of files.
Sure.
How do I reference those, or what's the best way to do that?
Okay, so do you mind if I share my screen, Greg?
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Yeah, because you could definitely, so if you're not using, so there are steps and decisions that allow you just to put files directly on the file system, right? So if I
Okay.
create this, and I remember, Greg, do you remember that project? It was like Sin asked about it. Would you remember what that step was? If you could just research and find that step for me, that'd be great. So this is gonna be files on FS, we'll just call it. Yeah, there's a specific step. It is called, let's go to a flow. We'll say this is saving files on, directly on the
Mhm.
server, right? So there's a couple ways. I don't know if you have any network stuff. You can network move files, which means you can give a full path to a full
Right.
path. So if you have a shared drive, you can do it that way.
Right.
That
Yeah,
one
we
allows you
do.
to do, yeah, that one allows you to do that. And then on files, let's see. I know it's here. Data. It might be advanced. Nope, it's not advanced. Where is it? Let me just look at file. Let's see. Do you remember? Did you find that step, Greg?
No, tell me more about what you're looking for.
Remember, Sin asked a similar question about how to move one file from one part of the file system to another part of the file system, and there was a step we used.
Oh,
Could you find that for
okay.
me, please?
Yeah, let me find that.
Thank you. Because there's a specific step. Another person asked this question, and I just forgot the step that we utilized. Is it the add file? Nope, it's not add file because that's just a list of bytes to it. Let me, here's how I'm understanding your question, James. So let's say
Mhm.
I have a process and I store that file, let's say in C drive Jared documents, right?
Right.
It's there.
Right.
And then you're saying, and then I have a process that wants to take that C drive Jared documents and put it into, C drive Jared desktop live documents for
Right.
whatever reason, right?
Right.
And you want the flow to be able to do that part and store it that way instead of utilizing the default kind of file
Right.
storage,
Because I
right?
need to reference it, or I need to reference a group of files, because we have several processes where a
Mm-hmm.
third-party entity will stick files out there in a specific directory, but they could be named like, they're just the latest files that they put out there. And we have to grab whatever those files are and process them because we know those are the files that need to be processed. But
Gotcha. Yeah.
when we may have a file structure name, like it's FS and then the date
Mm-hmm.
or something like that on there. So we just want to grab everything that's in that directory. But we need to know where it was put, and we need to know that we need to grab one or multiple files from that directory.
Yeah, let's try this. Let's build this example so we can see it. So this is going to be where, Jared, we'll say this is file dir is what we'll call it. All right. And in file dir, I'll open it up. We'll create a new text document. This will be Jared. This will be dir text, or no, doc text. That's what we'll call it, right? So I have this doc text. Let me put some data in it. So it sees it as data. Random stuff. And then what we'll do is I'll have file dir, and then I'm gonna create a file dir2. Say file dir2 is what we'll call that. And this will have no documents. Let's make another one. So because you said you'll probably doing like not just one, but a list of these, right?
Yeah, there could be a list of files within a certain directory,
Doc
a
text.
folder, whatever.
Okay, cool. And then boom,
Mhm.
got some data, right? Imagine it's intelligent, right? This is something useful.
Right.
All right, so now what I'll do is I'm just gonna grab here, go to File Explorer. Let me grab this file path from my File Explorer. And I want to know if I set this, and I do backslash, I want to say, I said capital D.txt. I want to see if that loads the file from the directory. I may, but it may blow up. I think it'll blow up. Oh, hey, look at that. And we have, oh, cool. Look at this. So it looks like it got it. Awesome. So I could load file, and that takes it. And what does it output? Okay, it outputs a list of file and data. Okay, cool. So we can get the files. Do I have to be specific in that? Was
Does
it
that
find
get the
files?
data from the file or just the file reference stuff? Like. the folder
That
name?
got the data from the file, and to prove, and I can prove that to you by going to show form, because that is a good question. So I can pick from existing or create new form, and then we could say this is display stuff to James, and we'll do a document viewer.
Mhm.
And then just display it just as a test, right? And this is going to be a file data, right? And we'll say this is file stuff. And then we'll do a button here, save, over here, load, all this here, select from flow, load from file output. And so we should be able to see that gobbledygook that I just typed
Right,
in here.
right.
Boom, yeah. So
Gotcha.
it does grab the data from it, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, so we are getting the data, but here's the thing, because this is the thing, is now you have to know, well, I guess if you know, there's got to be another step that says like,
Is the one that grabs multiple files so that you can process each one individually, or do you just put it in a for loop? You know, how does it know? How do you figure out how many, like there could be one or there could be 10? I mean. you just
right,
don't
yeah,
know.
that's exactly what I'm
grab
trying
them all.
to do. So I could
Yeah.
say, was it list files in directory? Oh, cool. So we can, okay, so here's, it looks like this
Okay.
might be what you have to do
Okay.
is, let's say, right, so let's say I got to list the files in the directory. I don't know what those files are, right? And
Mhm.
then I have, okay, and so I'm going to grab the directory name that I created. We go over here, and so I'll grab the files here, and I can set this as a constant because that's the directory, and then I'm going
Right.
to, oops, and then I'm going to click done.
Yeah.
And then what happens here is, let's see, I should get to see a list of 2 files. Boom.
Yep.
Awesome.
Gotcha. All right.
And
So
then you
then
can
you
for
just.
each that into load
Yep.
file.
Yep. Yep. That does it. So where were those steps now?
Yeah, I'll show you. So those steps were in file management. It was right in front of my face.
Okay.
that I
File
didn't read it.
management.
So if you go to file management, the 2 that I'm utilizing is the load file, and that just brings the file from your file system into decisions as a file data object so that you can
Right.
manipulate, right?
Right.
So that's what the load file does. List files in directory shows you all of the files within, and it outputs the data in like the full, like absolute path of it. So it's not just
Right.
docx,
Right.
it's like, here's the whole path.
Right.
And so
And
you
that
combine those
that
2.
can feed into that other step to pull the data out of each one of them, and then you can pass that to your process. Okay.
Exactly. How many documents do you like do you, is it like lots of documents that you'll be pulling, or is it just like a couple?
It depends on the process. I mean,
Okay.
we have several processes where banks or whatever will send us, or institutions like transcripts and things like that, where
hmm
they put them out in a directory and we just have processes go out there and grab them and process them every
Okay.
night. So we have a whole file system set up for that.
Sure.
So I want to be able to access that and run flows against it to mimic what we're doing now.
hmm Yeah. So, but like, the reason I'm asking these questions is anytime you use like a lot of loops and stuff, you just want to keep in mind of just size of documents if they get large, because then there's other ways you
Yeah,
still utilize the same steps. We just would have
right.
a different way of doing it. So I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't
Just do
going to
them
be
like
like.
asynchronously or something, or in a batch mode of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd
Right,
want to make sure, like, run flows for list or things like that. You don't
right,
want to just, but don't avoid just using the run flow for list just all the time. Like, like you want to,
right,
don't think, oh, if I'm going to for each, I run flows for list. It's not a
right,
one-to-one equivalent, because you can thread exhaust your server.
right,
The
right,
thing you want to, what you want to do to determine whether you for each or whether you run flows for list is you just ask the question, since we're in the context of documents, is how many documents will I be getting, and
right,
how large are those documents?
right. Yeah, that
From
makes
what
sense.
Yeah, from what it like from what you've explained to me, it doesn't sound like your document's gonna be that large, like maybe
Yeah,
at
well,
most
there
a
are
gig or
some,
whatever.
there are some that could add up to a gig. I mean, because they
Mhm,
could put, like, let's say during registration time or something, when students are filling out, well, I don't know, whatever, they have to
sure.
submit all kinds of forms or whatever,
Mhm,
or financial aid type stuff. So there are some processes that will take in hundreds, if not thousands of documents,
sure.
in the run. But
Mhm,
then most of them, yeah, are only like, a few, like, daily bank reconciliations, things like that. So.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, so that's the only thing. So I would just say keep that in the back of your mind. I don't think you're
Hmm.
in that zone just yet, but
Yeah,
just think of, just have that in the
yeah,
back of your
absolutely.
mind when you go
Yeah,
through. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Was there anybody else out there waiting to ask a question? I have another one, but I can wait.
Let's see. Do you know, Greg?
Nobody else has put anything in the chat or Q&A,
I think
so
Radley has a question. If we do have one
yeah.
person, with their hand up.
Mhm.
So we'll circle back with you, James.
Yeah, no problem.
Radley, I'm gonna allow you to talk so you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hey guys. So I'm building a dashboard, and I noticed that on things like column charts or pie charts or even the matrix objects, when you bring that object into the page, you get a title for that item, and then there's a blue line underneath that title, like a lower border, which is fine. However, on the report source, the report viewer object, that blue line isn't there. And just for consistency, I'd like to have that there because I have a dashboard with 4 items on it, one of those being a report viewer. Any idea how I get that blue line either to show up on the report viewer or not show up on the other items?
Okay, let me replicate what you're talking about because I'm not
Okay.
sure. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what you're talking about with the blue line.
Okay,
Hold on a
fair
second,
enough.
let me see.
And Radley, while he's building, if you have yours up, take a look at under the view options, changing it to Chromeless, I believe, while he's
Okay.
building. And I think that should have some effect on it. I'm gonna work on it too, but on your actual like tiles and things like that on the page of the dashboard, if you change it to Chromeless, it'll remove all of the boundaries and stuff like that. But I think Greg's building it out too.
So Bradley, you're talking about this blue line here with all the headers?
No. So if
No.
you're in a page,
Mhm.
right, if you're building a dashboard and you drag in, say, a column object,
Yeah.
a column chart.
So actually bring the report viewer in?
Yep, you can bring in a report viewer so you can see the difference. But then bring in a pie
Okay.
right next to it. Right. See where it says pies chart, and then there's that blue border.
Like this, right? The line, the blue
Yeah,
line right behind.
exactly.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So on the report viewer, that line isn't there. Now it's obviously not here because you're in design mode, but
Mhm.
if you were to view it, it wouldn't be there.
Right.
And it's fine when it's the report viewer by itself, but when you have 3 other objects, it just looks a little funny.
I know you can select the show title there. I wonder if that would get rid of it.
Yeah, my workaround was to remove all the titles and then have another
Right.
another row in my grid.
I'm guessing you've played with a lot of these settings, huh?
I really didn't. This is my first
okay.
dashboard and got a little overwhelming when I expanded the
Yeah.
view menu.
No, what Rob was talking about is Chromeless right here.
Oh, that does it.
When you select Chromeless, it does take away that title there, and that may be helpful. Let's just see what these other options do. Yeah, so they all have that blue line, but I mean, I know we have used Chromeless more in our example projects that we do in training. So you may want to do that, and then you could, let's see, let's go back
add a title.
Yeah, where'd it go? Show title this way. And then configure your title
And then do it
however
that
you
way.
want. Yeah,
Okay.
that may
I can
be
play
the
around with
best
that.
bet.
And I think this will be a quick question. On some of these, I don't want to allow people to drill into it. Is there a way to turn that off? And typically, you can just click on a pie slice and it'll drill into the data.
hmm
How do I prevent that from happening? Because that data is meaningless behind it.
Tell me more. What do you mean exactly? So people access this page, but they cannot see the data associated with the pie?
I don't want them to be able to click on a pie slice and get the report that built that slice.
Yeah, Greg, just create some data, like report over the accounts table and group it by email, and then create the pie so the pie shows data and you can see what Bradley's talking about. Because I think I know what you're referring to, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Let's see. Let's look at the page. I'm going to create a quick folder. And this. Not showing that pie chart yet. Hmm.
I think in the page, it wasn't referring back to this report in the pie chart.
Say that again, James.
I think in your page, when you built the pie chart, it wasn't referring back to this report. There was a data on it, not this data.
Just want to make
That's
sure
why
I
it's
had
not
my
showing.
groupings there. Now let's get back to the page.
That pie chart's not referring back to that report.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see how it looks back on the dashboard. Wait, that's the page. So Bradley, you're saying that when you want the user or the end user to hover over the pie chart, you do not want them to see the data come out?
Go ahead and click on one of the slices.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that's what, okay. So I must be doing something different. Because
In
what
the
happens with
chart,
mine is a report
yeah.
pops up with all the data that generated
Does
that
it?
slice.
in the page designer on the chart, there is a drop down. I'm troubleshooting it too on the sidelines here for drilled. It's called drill down, drilled or data drill view. I'm messing with it right now, and that is that functionality, is that data drill view in the. So if you click on that, Greg, and then you go down to behavior, behavior. Yeah. And then there's a data drill view. I'm trying to figure out what setting would work for you. But if you turn off initially enabled, they can
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe that.
they can view the chart. It does, you can view the chart, but it does have like a gray box around it, which again is not a very friendly pretty look. So I'm doing some exploration on the sidelines, but they can't drill into it. But just removing that gray border or that gray over might be a solution as well. I just got to find where that is.
Yeah, I would expect in that drop down there to be a none option. Okay. All right. Well, I can mess around with that now that I know where that is. Great. Thank you guys. I appreciate your help.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome.
I'll follow up with you too. So I'll work on it too, Cross, and I'll follow up with you in the next like hour or so when I figure it out.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm
I
sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. I don't see any other questions in the chat or Q&A. James, did you want to ask your question or?
Yeah, I had
wanna
one
say-
more question that has to do with if I'm linking into a flow from a link in an email.
Mhm.
So is there a way I can tell that I did it that way versus I was in the portal already and hit run flow? Because the
Okay.
reason I ask is because if they do it that way from an email, I want to put an end form session in there that will, when it's done, it brings up another web page to make it cleaner. So it just doesn't have that, click here to view portal, standard message when you're not actually logged in. Well, you are, but I don't want them to go to the portal. I want them to go, back to a specific web page or something.
Mhm.
But if they're already in the portal and they run it, like later on down the line, maybe they're doing some things. Is there just a way to distinguish how if they got there through a link or if they're already in the portal?
Ooh, that is a good question. I don't know how they can tell.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at the flow data,
Mm-hmm.
and there is an is portal, I think, something like that but I don't know if that's because I don't really even know how to debug that. I guess I could throw it up on a pop-up or something.
So
Hmm.
you're trying to like, so wait, say that one time, you're sending an email and they click on a link in that email and you want to navigate them to another location, like another website?
Well, when they click on the link in the email, they execute the flow, which is basically the task assignment. So it's the person that's going to complete the task.
Okay,
I send them right to that task and they fill it out and do their work. But they weren't in decisions to begin with. They were in their email and whatever. So in those cases, I have an end-form session that sends them to a specific website because I don't want the portal coming up for
sure.
those people. But if they're like in the future, as people are working in decisions more and they do execute the flow from within decisions,
Hmm.
then sure, I want to leave them in decisions. So is there a way I can tell how they actually executed that flow?
Oh, how they executed the
Yeah, did it
flow.
come from like an API link or a link from an email? I mean, or how are they actually logged? And the trick is they are logged in decisions because we're using SSO. So they are
Hmm.
logged in. It's not a guest.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
we're logging them in as they come in through SSO and stuff. So I think the system thinks they're logged in because that's why
Cur
it wants to send them back to the portal when they're done filling out doing their task.
Sure. Do you like have a list of accounts? You know who, like, is there a group that you're like, oh, always navigate back to
No, not
decision?
necessarily because
Okay.
these could be just, I mean, it really just, I'm thinking of the future right now. Right now, I
Hmm.
always want to send them back because there's really nobody working in decisions.
Sure.
But later on, we plan on having like dashboards they can get to view all their stuff and
Hmm.
those types of things. So when it gets to that point, and then they're clicking on their workflows, I don't want to, at that point, I don't want to navigate them back to a random, web page. I want them to stay in decisions.
Sure. So,
So
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, so yeah, we probably need, so we could, I can see like a way like when you have more people in different groups, right? Like some of what our other customers do is you'll have different groups of users and like certain dashboards they're allowed to view. And then all you have
Mm-hmm,
to do is just
mm-hmm.
check who the group
Yeah,
association is of that
yeah,
user and then say, hey, they have access to these dashboards. Set them to this dashboard.
right,
Because there's
right.
if you can
Yeah,
under the search bar, Greg, could you search for like the navigate? I think just type navigate. I think there's a step. Let's see, navigate to folder. And
yeah,
I think
yeah,
if we click that one over, and then you can give them a folder ID and a page name, since this is a local place
right,
within decisions. If you want to send them to
right,
some web page outside
right,
decisions, then use the inform session
right.
navigate to
Yeah,
website. But
gotcha.
yeah, so that's how I see like if just architecting in my head
Yeah, that's
what you
that's
would
probably
do.
the way it would work in the future
Yeah.
because they probably will be assigned to if they have access to a portal
Hmm.
or something like that. They'll probably
Exactly.
be
Like
in a system.
yeah, like, hey, this is the this is the what do you call it? The enrollment officer for the science department or the English
Yeah,
department, and they'll have their own dashboard view that you just navigate them to.
right, right,
And say, hey, this is the dashboard they can view. Here's the ID. Here's the page, and then it would auto
right,
populate based
right,
on
right,
association.
right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's probably how I'll end up doing it. Okay. I was just
And then
wondering if there's a
yeah.
quick way through the flow that you could tell, oh, I know it came in through an external link.
I see that I won't know. Yeah, that I don't know on the top of my head of whether, because what happens is you always need some type of an account to run the flow.
Mm-hmm,
It's just if you like in one of our lending app applications, as you know, because you did it, right? You
mm-hmm.
just make it a guest account. So you
Right,
can check to see if the user running it is guest.
right,
And then if
right,
it is, then you say, okay, let's go through my
right,
internal groups. If
right,
if it is a guest account, then just navigate it to fsu.edu website, right?
right,
And
right.
then you can do it
Yeah.
that way.
That makes sense. That's based on the account or the group, that's probably the way we'll do it in the future when we need to do those types of things. That's, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions?
If no one else is asking anything, I just got one more thing that we're working on right now and just kind of talk through a minute. We're,
Okay.
what we're doing is we're gonna put all of our, assignments or tasks out on our university portal. So we already have what we call a work list. And on that work list, it's basically just anything that you have to do as a student, as a faculty, as a staff person gets put up on this work list. It could be in any system. It could be in our ERP system. It could be in our, student system, whatever. Or it could be in decisions in the future. So what we're wanting to do is make sure that they can link in decisions to that person's tasks and have an entry on there so that they just click it and it goes right to that task. Kind of what I'm doing with the emails right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm sending them a direct link to their task in the email. But we want to transfer that and have it all on the portal. So they click the link on the portal and it takes them right into decisions to complete their task. And when they're done, it'll take them right back to the portal. They won't even know that. They'll just do their thing. So we're working on the APIs for that. And I did see, and I think I'm on the right track here, but I just want to verify that if you go into applications, I think, or is it administration? Administration features, decisions core, I think it is, or decisions.core, yeah. And the assignment, if you do the view integration details there, those are all the steps that I can use to accomplish that. Those are all the APIs that are already set up, right?
Yeah.
To do that. So I can point my portal team, I could to these things because if I click on any one of them, it goes into and shows me the actual link to the API that it uses and all that stuff. So this is all I need to be able for them to grab a list of, let's say for any given user, all their tasks and then put them up on our portal. Because I think there are some for like listing.
It's cool. Yeah.
So I think this is what I need. This, as I was researching this earlier this morning, I think this is what I need, right? To just point them in this direction.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it has get assignments per forward, get assignments by user email. That's the one we would use right there. And that should get for anybody who's logged into our portal. We know their email, so we would go ahead and grab everything for that email and decisions and post it out on the portal with that get there.
Yeah.
And it would link back when they hit that, it would link right back in decisions to that. Well, I would have to combine that with the no. That'll link right to the inbox, right? Is that what that does? Looks,
not
Local
sure
host, what is this, just to show the assignment to them?
yeah, to give them a list of assignments in decisions for them. And I think what I would want to do is I would have a loop that I would populate probably a table that has each individual assignment in it.
Yeah.
So they have the actual assignment ID so they could link right to that specific assignment.
Yep, that would work.
Yeah.
But also like you can left click it automatically. Like by default, if you report over the assignments table and then you have any active assignments, if you left click that active assignment, it's gonna pop it up. I think. Wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. It's not the left click, it's the right click. The right click action is what will appear. That's what it is.
I
But
mean,
you're saying
on
you want to
in your
left click,
inbox?
I'm sorry?
In your inbox, is that what you're talking about?
Even so, it's whenever you report over the assignments table.
Okay,
So it doesn't have to be, yes, the inbox by default, all it is
Yeah.
it's just a report viewer that's
right,
sourced from the assignment data table that's
Right.
filtered by the current user, right?
right,
So
right.
you can
right.
easily create that and you can create your own curated
Right.
view, similar like we did with the self-paced module where we said, hey, click this edit button and it navigates
Right.
you to the flow.
Right,
You can create something like that that crafts the URL
right,
for that assignment, and then you can just click, view assignment.
okay. But that's once you're in, so all on our portal, we're probably gonna want an individual link for each assignment. And we may have use cases where we might group those assignments together. But for now, because they're just individual, they're different things. So, and what we're trying to avoid is for them knowing their indecisions right now. So I don't want to link them into a list of their assignments, indecisions. I want them to go to a specific assignment from the
Oh,
portal.
I see. Okay.
So
And then you
I
send that
can do
URL
that.
out to individuals.
It'll be on the portal, right? That's what the link will be, to a specific assignment. So I would just have to craft a link like this that has the assignment ID in it. So when they click into it, when they
Mhm.
click it, it goes right to that, kind of what I'm doing with the email.
Correct,
Right now,
yes.
they click on it and it brings up that form for them
You're right.
to do that.
Yep.
Okay,
No, exactly. That's a great way to look at it.
yeah, all right. That's what I was just looking at this morning, so I thought I'd make sure I was on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
All right then, everybody. Well, unless anybody has any other questions, we will end for the day. Okay, well, thanks for joining. Hope you have a great rest of your day and week, and we will see you next week on Monday. Take care, everyone.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Have a good one.